Hi, this is Joan Nichols. I'm back again with Representative Dave Olin from District 1A. Welcome back to Capital Connections.
Thank you.
We're all breathing a little bit easier with the news from the February forecast that just came out.
Yeah, the news from the February forecast came out about a week ago, and instead of making the situation worse than the $1.2 billion to balance the budget right now, the news was that we went under we're in the 900 million bracket instead. So we made some progress over the last few months. The progress mainly, although, is on some expenditures that were not done and some other stuff. So long term, are we totally out of the woods? No, we're not out of it yet.
And because from long term, they projected an even bigger deficit than we anticipated back in November. It went up from 5.4 to 5.8 billion if we don't count inflation.
Right. The long-term budget is going to really be an interesting subject, but we're probably not, unless something amazingly happens here, going to stabilize the long-term situation. And that's going to be, for whoever's in the session next year and whoever's the governor, will probably start with that 5.8 to possibly 8 million if you or 8 billion if you add inflation. Because what we've got right now is we've got a situation where we've used one-time money because we've had federal stimulus money in this budget. Well, that stuff is gone after this. There's no one-time money to put back in to fill those spots, and that was both the governor and every legislator that made those decisions to stay in the one-time money situation. So that's guaranteed to cause trouble, and there's still a shortage in the long term on revenue coming in. So it's going to be an interesting session next year, to say the least.
Now, the legislators right now are getting ready they're in the process of setting budget targets. And so that folks understand back home, what will those targets do?
What those targets will do is show how much each individual committee would have to cut, or, well, it's cut basically because we're short money, of what the proposed budget was that we did last year. And that's going to result in $1.2 billion worth of different funding or different cuts that are going to occur. Now, some of the committees are being asked to be ready to go on that as early as next week. Other committees will be longer, because what we're doing right now is we're doing a three-tier system. There's three different bills that'll probably come. The one bill will be strictly cuts, and it'll show up as early as sometime next week. And it'll cover the committees of several committees. Well, it'll cover public safety, finance, I'm sure, the committee that I'm actually vice chair on, because we're already making some serious discussions on how we're going to cut approximately 300 million or a little more from that budget. And the next tier, then there'll be two other tiers. The last tier we'll probably deal with is going to be the biggest share of the budget, and that's K through 12 education, which really nobody wants to cut, and health and human services. We need to figure out a way to cut those or find some revenue out of the clear blue sky, which at this stage we don't have, that will allow us to not do severe cuts to those areas.
Well, as we go through the next remaining weeks and months of this session, you'll be able to tell people more about each of these rounds of cuts, which is 3 separate bills. Right. That we're doing in pieces for the budget areas, and that will be a challenging set of negotiations, I'm sure.
It's going to be a challenging set of negotiations. Like I said, the first set of bills will probably, well, it'll be a challenging set because we're not going to agree exactly on dollar signs or how to do them, but the first set of negotiations is probably going to be going rather rapidly. Now the other two sets where we need to handle the bulk of our budget, which is Health and Human Services and K-12, now that's going to be a real interesting story because we need a lot of money on those.
And we'll be hearing more about that when we meet up with you again, Representative Olin, on Capital Connections. Thank you.
Thank you.